well, that's exciting. Okay.
We live?
Yeah.
Well, good morning.
Good morning. We're back.
We're back. We're just gonna start off talking about. Well, actually, I'd like to actually start off with the morning quote of the day.
Oh yes, let's hear it.
Okay, let me get into it.
Let's hear the positivity.
It's loading. All right, so this comes from Tony Robbins.
Yes.
It says, in life, lots of people know what to do, but few people actually do what they know. How true that is. I think that's one of the hardest things, even just as a thing of personal development, knowing you know better, or a way to improve your situation and still being in old habits and behaviors. And I think it's hard to break that sometimes because it feels comfortable.
Oh,
but,
yeah. We love the comfort, and it's almost probably a nutrient type of feeling.
Yeah. I definitely
And so to go out of our comfort zone and give acknowledgement to that, and
yeah, I think we definitely have to get out of our comfort zone more often than we'd like to. I think we were talking earlier about some of the things that people are talking about here in Utah in the medical cannabis program. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of frustrations and issues and progress that still needs to be made. But I think it's really important to also remember the progress that has been made.
oh my goodness, so amazing.
You know, I almost hear on a daily basis from new patients, like, I didn't ever think that Utah would ever have cannabis legal here.
Well, it really actually, I'm almost choked up right now, full of emotion, because you struck a nerve when you said that. I can't believe not only is Utah here, okay, and when I told people I was gonna come and do cannabis business in Utah, they're just, oh my gosh. Especially coming from the California side, but really where we have come to introduce medical cannabis to humans and what it can do for us, and is unbelievable. We've really only scratched the surface on what is available, for one, and what it can all do for us. So it really is amazing that we're so in touch with this plant and spreading so much of its purpose around.
I think you hit right on the nail with purpose. The medical cannabis program definitely has a purpose.
It sure does.
You know, it's not like a free-for-all, for anybody to come and use that however they want. You know, that stigma,
like the recreational side.
Or and I don't know what my position is on that, to be honest with you. Do I like the medical aspect of it? Yeah, because we get to learn stuff, and it's, same for me. I didn't ever think, it never was even a thought that I wanted to have happen, cannabis becoming legal in some form. Never crossed my mind until being in the healthcare industry, working, with cancer patients. There would be patients that would treat themselves, and they would tell us, if they're on hospice or home health, like, that's the only thing that helps their pain, their nausea. And that was where I first got introduced to the medical aspect of it, and started to do more research on my own. And that was still, years ago, before they even were considering medical cannabis here in Utah. But what I did find through my research and the things that was being studied at the time, I was like, why are we not using this? Especially working with cancer patients where, they've gone through the ringer. They've had radiation, chemo, and, they're being taken to the brink of death.
Oh, sure.
And and I'm sure you know what that is like, didn't you have cancer?
Yes, but I wasn't to the brink of death.
You know,
by any means, and I did not go through the whole chemotherapy process, and thank goodness, and I didn't have to, thank goodness, but I went through some pharmaceutical orals that were not fun, but the injections I did not have, and so I have plenty of family members and friends that have gone through it, and it looks horrific, and it's horrific to watch them have to suffer. So any type of relief that they can get, I encourage, because they are literally going through hell already and are alive talking about it. So.
Yeah. And I think it's, the benefits that I saw come specifically for cancer patients was a no-brainer to me. For pretty much every person, almost there's, I'm sure a few that it probably wouldn't have been ideal for, but for the most part, generally speaking, for the vast majority, very small percentage, probably not. But, if we look at society today with how much, some of the research I found that 85% of cannabis patients use it for pain.
Yep. And
of those 85%, over 60% of them either come off their opiate medication completely because the cannabis better regulates their pain, maintains their overall a better, higher quality, enhanced well-being, overall well-being, and their health, mentality, emotional well-being as well.
Absolutely.
And then specifically going into the cancer, for cancer patients, it helps with the nausea, it helps with the pain. And so to me, again, it was a no-brainer, and that there's little to no side effects, very minor if you understand cannabis and use it as the medication that it can be. It's been used as a medication since the beginning of time. It's only been the last 50-something-ish years, 50-plus years that it's been illegal.
Right.
Other than that, not too long before that, it was still being prescribed by pharmaceutical industries. Indica was sold in a bottle.
Yes.
And so, the opiate epidemic or crisis or whatever it's called, there's so many demics now, I don't know which one's which.
I know.
But, the beauty of it is, going back to those numbers, of those 85%, over 60% of them would either didn't need to take their medications, and then the other 40% actually cut them in by over half their intake.
I definitely hear the same type of statistics with the clients I have coming through the door and throughout, my career in the industry. It's the relief, and I'm gonna call it almost like a long-term side effect of using the plant. People have nothing but good things to say to me about it, especially if they have other types of diseases and illnesses that they're fighting as well. Really, their diabetes. I have lots of people who tell me, oh, now I take half the insulin that I used to take, or no insulin now, or my blood pressure I've gone off 1 or 2 of my blood pressure pills, and now I don't have all the side effects that go along with that as well. So those types of feedback that we get is so critical for us to know which strains are helping, what kind of dosing is helping what kind of patient, and some of it's just exploratory. That wasn't the intention to find that out or to have that be a benefit, but now it is, and we've all learned from that. And the scientific and medical knowledge that is being generated by the patients is so beneficial for us to keep moving forward in the medical for Utah, and keeping its quality up, and knowing what a patient is being helped with, whether it be strain or a terpene or a type, a specific flavor that might be beneficial to them or lift their spirits and moods. We know that it can do that too. So it's really exciting to be working in a state that is at the beginning stages of formulating all of this. And like you said, acknowledging where we have come. 2 years ago, that wasn't the case here, and now we have dispensaries opened 7 days, some of them are 7 days a week, servicing medical cannabis patients here in Utah. And do you know how many patients there are here in Utah right now?
I think there is over 13,000. 13,000-ish.
Yeah. So,
last time I looked, anyways.
Okay. Well,
I could be a little off.
There's still a lot of people who could probably be benefiting from getting a medical card and learning about the menu and what they could use, whether it be CBD or THC or both combined.
I think it's kind of surprising, I mean, being in it, along being in the process of the program, part of that process, that I think a lot of people have this stigma or misconception that there's not as many people using it. I mean, that it's a stoner drug and, it's bad and people just want to get high and lazy and blah, blah, blah and be stupid.
Right.
When it couldn't be, is there some truth to that? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There are some people that just want it for that.
Sure.
But if you dig a little deeper, because really, we're all trying to, that's just the surface. If you were to look at it a lot, most of the time when I'm reviewing patients' records before they meet with the doctor, who's the hardest patients usually to qualify is because they don't have medical records because they didn't need to go to the doctor. Patients who have used cannabis for a long time.
Right.
They usually are in a lot better health.
Yep.
In all honesty, not saying every one of them.
Yep.
Or less comorbidities associated in their health conditions. And most of their stuff's pretty well managed with one medication. You don't generally see, because they haven't needed to, go to the doctor and be on a bunch of prescription meds, which, if you need, like insulin, for example.
Sometimes you do.
Yeah. You need insulin. That's a life-saving medication if you're type 1, type 2 diabetic and you need that.
Right.
But it's still kind of fascinating to me to see from an insider's point of view to the outsiders of what was once probably mine as well, that there really isn't that many people. And I think it's surprising that there's more people that use it and have used it for a long time in the shadows that you'd never even know, that are very productive members of society, hold jobs, good family, parents, friends, whatever. You'd never know.
Right.
And that seems to be more of the general than I could probably count on one hand in all the patients that we've seen that are your true stoners, but they still had a medical condition. You know what I mean? But for the most part, these are your everyday people, and it's helped them, and it's the only thing that's helped them. And they, in human psychology, we'll do more to avoid pain than we will anything else. So I think what a lot of people haven't experienced is the relief. They haven't witnessed it, experienced it with a family member or a friend who's in pain. When someone's got cancer, let's just say they have a terminal illness and they're dying. I don't know too many people that wouldn't go to the ends of the earth to make sure their loved one doesn't, pass in pain.
Oh, sure.
Or is in pain at all.
Yeah.
I don't have any kids, but do you have kids?
No.
Nope, no kids. So you'll be able to identify with me on this. But Tana has kids,
you want some?
But my dogs are my kids.
Mine too. I was gonna say yes, I do, but he has 4 paws. I have 4 paws.
There's not anything I wouldn't do for my kids.
Oh no.
When my are they pain in the ass sometimes?
Yeah.
Absolutely they are. But when they're in pain, I would do anything.
Yeah, your heart aches.
I would do anything. I'd probably make a deal with somebody I wouldn't normally make a deal with.
Sure.
To save my kid.
To save your
to make
kid,
sure that my loved ones not in pain. And that goes not just for my dogs, but
Yeah.
you know, family and friends too. I hate seeing people in pain.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or suffering
Or
when
suffering.
you know that there's something else that can help them.
Sure.
And I think going back to the quote that we started off with, you know, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. And I think what I would challenge those who have the stigma is actually acquire the knowledge, not just what you've been told by your friends or what you think, what the news has said, the media, don't let any outside entity influence your decision. Come to that on your own, but have all the information before you make that decision that it's bad, because opiates are prescribed all the time, and there's a time and a place for those.
Sure.
There are people that do
Absolutely.
need those medications,
Absolutely.
but there's a lot that don't.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that aren't here because of the abuse that can happen with those.
With those, sure.
Because it does provide pain relief, and
Sure.
you want that. Who doesn't want to live pain free? Nobody
Yeah.
wants to be in pain.
Yeah.
And anybody who stays in pain chooses to suffer. And so anybody, human psychology would tell you, I mean, this is just what we know about how the human behavior and mind works, is we'll do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. How do you think they get people to tell their secrets? They waterboard them. They don't, you know, overdose them with a bunch of pleasurable, you know, torturous techniques. It's quite the opposite. It's very, very
Right.
painful.
Sure.
You know, and just being able to see it from, okay, this is a medication,
Mm-hmm.
and that people are able to get rid of some sort of pain, whether it's emotional, whether, you know, PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
or physical, you know, ulcerative colitis, or just general back pain or inflammation, I mean, cancer, the list goes on. Don't see it as the medication that I would hope that people can see the value from that.
Sure.
You know, that it's not this monster or evil thing it's been made out to be. Are there some things that we as patients need to know? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anything can be addicting.
Oh, absolutely.
Fast food can be addicting.
It's certainly
So can Coke.
Yeah.
You know, Pepsi, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of all that is just coming to terms with ourselves and learning how to moderate and balance our life and our choices. And I love the quote today because Tony Robbins is an inspiration for that type of choices, lifestyle. So
I think, and why I love that quote, because I see too many people that just don't live life on their terms.
yeah,
And they're trying to live a life based on what is acceptable, and I'm talking within reason, of course. Like if somebody wanted to go out and hurt people, that's not within reason, living life on their terms,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, but within reason is what I'm talking about, in a fulfilling, giving back type of way,
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people are trying to appease or get validation or value from outside sources instead of giving that to themselves. They don't know
Sure.
what they want, who they are, where they're going. And I can tell you, doing the hospice, there's going to come a point in your life, no matter what, you're going to have to answer some questions.
Sure.
And those aren't, I would encourage people to answer them much sooner.
Much sooner.
Better late than never, but
Sure.
you know, the three questions are, what do you want? Who are you? And who do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to create?
Absolutely.
And yeah, there's going to be some problems and challenge. I like to see them as challenges, not problems. But same with the cannabis program, there's going to be some more challenges.
Oh yeah.
But it's having that purpose and that why behind you, to come up with solutions, be resourceful, so that the program, we can continue to move forward.
Sure.
Instead of, well, it just sucks, no, you know, nobody's doing anything, and just
or it's
complaining.
Too expensive,
you know,
they're out of everything, and, you know, coming from the background that I come from, which I've been in cultivation, and I've been in the dispensary, and I've been on the floor helping patients, and I've been in the back behind the scenes developing strains, and working with nutrient companies and lighting companies, and I mean, it's not cheap to grow good weed.
No.
It's not cheap to grow bad weed, or we'll say medical cannabis. But with that being said, there's so many, it's really complicated, and I mean, you have to think of this as like a pharmacy creating and manufacturing prescriptions, and there's not one type of stomach acid reflux medication.
Yeah.
There's so many, and one is not going to help you, that might help me, and side effects that go along with it, or dosing, or whatever. And so really just getting getting into it, and when there was no program here in Utah, and getting into it, and the base is laid, the foundation is laid, and you make improvements as you see they need to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure all aspects are going through that in this state right now, and
as well as every other state too.
Absolutely.
And I think
California,
you can
from
attest to that.
California, they're over 20 years of still changing things.
And I think that's important for everyone to remember of where
over
we
20
started.
years of
like,
changing things.
These other states, it didn't just happen overnight.
It didn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. And if you're out there looking for, wondering why there's not more strains on a menu, or more choices, or it's not cheaper, it takes a lot of time and money and investment on.
There's a lot of limitations too.
And
challenges.
We are not even talking about the limitations of, like, perhaps the law, and what our regulations are there, but just
banking,
the time.
support.
Oh my goodness, we have a whole list we could go through. The time that it takes to develop strains and find out even if they're going to be beneficial for a patient is probably over 2 years. So it's not a quick, for the farmers, it's not quick for them to say, oh, let's just change up our menu, or let's add or take something away. To take something away, you really have to have something good to replace it. So that all takes a lot, just an enormous amount of time, an enormous amount of energy and money, and then the knowledge that comes along with that, and the experience that comes along with that is, you know, there's very few people really that can take that by the reins and really make good,
especially on a
decisions.
mass producing level.
Producing,
it's one thing to grow it in your closet, in your backyard.
I mean, you have to salute really the cultivators here in Utah for making the effort that they're going through right now, and feeling their pains and challenges that they're having, and having to moderate and just change their ways. Maybe a lighting is not working, or a room is not working, or the environment's not working, a strain's not working. It could be so many things for this farmer that he's having challenges with, and then to get that crop to the patient is really, really, it's very time consuming, and it doesn't happen easy, and it takes a lot of people to make all of this happen for the patient. So with that being said, you have to understand why it is expensive.
Yeah.
And then you involve, now we are medical cannabis, and you involve, you know, doctors and doctors' offices and doctors' visits. And, you know, it's all really important to make sure the patient is really getting what they need. Because if they're just not a black market smoker, then how the heck do you know what you need? Do you get to go to the pharmacy and just start choosing bottles off the wall and say, I'd like to take this, and this, please? No.
We don't recommend that anyways.
Yeah. I think the pharmacist would deter you from going behind the counter.
Having somewhat of a focus.
And helping yourself. But it's not an easy road, and there's been so many I'll call it like evolutions that we have taken in the cannabis industry since it all kind of came to fruition that it was going to be medical and then recreational here in the States. And so it's all just still a learning process for us, and we need as many doctors and scientists and really qualified people to come into the industry as possible and put in their knowledge that they have and have went to school for, like you guys in the medical industry. It's so important to cross the two, and then we are really producing medical cannabis.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
Yeah.
The patient has been consulted, and what they are taking has been developed and chosen for their specific needs.
Yeah.
And it's really rewarding to see the program make all of its, it's really doing well, and there's lots of people getting relief, and so that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the patients are just as important, like you were saying, in that equation in order for the medical cannabis practice or managing conditions with medical cannabis to even take that next level or be taken to the next level is a patient-provider coordinating, collaborating relationship.
Absolutely.
You know, the doctors can only do so much. And again, it's that going back to knowledge is not power. You know, a lot of patients come in here thinking they know, and then after just a quick 15 minutes with the doctor, they're like, man, I had no idea. I thought I knew and I had no idea. It's time to you know, get that knowledge for yourself so that you can help other people share that, normalize it, and also give accurate information.
Oh yeah.
And if not, please don't speak to it.
Right.
You know, there's nothing wrong with saying I don't know.
Oh right.
You know, but it's always kind of I get a chuckle out of it when someone said, you know, I've been using it for the past 30 something years. That's awesome. I love hearing that.
Yep.
Let me see if I can just share some of the things that I've learned in the past, you know, barely even 12 months. And usually they walk out, man, I didn't know that. Man, there's a lot. Yeah, and there's a lot that I'm continually learning too. There's so much, and it does pay to it's that knowledge. It does pay to have that knowledge so that you know what the right course of action is for you, especially like what you're saying, you know, form, dosing, and what's going to be the best one for you. Patients being a vital part of that process, it's important for them to be aware and have like a journal, you know, what's working, what's not.
Oh, I absolutely recommend journaling your forms or the delivery methods and what you're taking, all the way down to the strains and the tastes that, or the terpenes we'll call them, because that's what they are, that are your go-tos or that don't agree with you. Really important for you to take responsibility for what is helping you, what is not, so you don't have bad adverse side effects and then think, oh, this is terrible, you know, and this is what every single time I use it, this is what's going to happen. Probably not.
Yeah. I think a lot of times we, as well, at least how I grew up anyways, you go to the doctor, and not that doctors are bad, it's just how they've been trained, but ultimately you go to the doctor, you have a problem, and they're there to help fix it, right? Essentially. Well, I kind of came to this conclusion that it's really important for me to also be an active participant in my own solution, as well as a doctor. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, coaching's a bit, you know, life coaching, da 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 da. If you think about it, what is a doctor? He's a medical coach.
Sure.
That's how it used to be. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I do know. This is what symptoms I'm having. I'm not having. This is what I've tried. I haven't tried. You know, what do you recommend? Outside, you know, a coach is somebody usually that has more experience or has done that or knowledge than you do. And in this case, it's the doctor.
Sure. Hey,
let's try this. Well, I'm not. You know, I want to stay away from those types of medications. Okay, well, that would entail you changing your diet, okay, I'm good with that. Let me try that first. If I can get away with that, which 9 times out of 10 we can. But being aware of what those things are, I think that sometimes cannabis especially can be glorified into this, you know, wonderful magic thing, just like the magic pills pharmaceuticals advertise.
Sure.
And in a lot of ways it's close. Better than most of those. Sure. You know, there's very few to minimal to no side effects for most people.
Right.
But it isn't for everybody.
Right.
And finding that right form, frequency, dosing, ratio, all of that is really important, and that takes responsibility and accountability on the patient's part to collaborate with the doctor and saying, this is what I'm finding, and being able to support that, because, you know, it's nothing more frustrating, I would think, for a provider or someone that comes and asks for help. I need help with this. What have you tried? Well, I don't know.
Right.
Okay, well, how am I supposed to guide and direct you?
Right.
Okay, well, I've tried this. Okay, well, how many milligrams? How frequently? I don't know. Maybe once, maybe twice. If you're being very general in your treatment attempt, you're going to get very general results as well.
Right.
And not being aware if it's working or not.
Yes.
You know, not just getting that feeling from THC that you feel pretty instantly, but also the long-term maintenance benefits that come with it as well.
Oh yeah. Those
are things you'll notice over time.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to be like, oh, that right away all my ailments and conditions are gone. It's a time thing as well. But being aware of what those things are, what's working and what's not.
Oh yeah. I like it's so it's the act is mindful, being aware and journaling what you're doing with your body, what you're putting into it, what kind of reactions you're having, the moods, just all of it can actually be really therapeutic for you. And as you read over it and absorb it, you can start making decisions on your own, knowing, oh, when I did this, I felt great, or when I smelled this, it was amazing, and I got to do this, or I went and was nice and calm. And so that's being responsible for your health and the maintenance of your body. I mean, unless you have a chauffeur, you have to drive your car to the body shop, to the auto shop, and get your oil changed.
Yeah.
So I like to use that analogy a lot, is that using medical cannabis is kind of like keeping oil in our engine. You know, the engine won't run without oil in it. And there are different particular oils that each car uses. So finding your right lubrication for your body, is really your responsibility ultimately.
Yeah.
And then I personally would want it to be of highest qualities as possible, whether it's food, water, pharmaceuticals, medical cannabis, for some of you out there, medicinal mushrooms, whatever. Just have it be the highest quality forms as possible, because your body will reward itself for that. And that's a nice little stepping stone to just taking responsibility for yourself. And when you feel good and look good, pat yourself on the back because you had everything to do with that, you know?
Yeah.
So, and that makes for a better, brighter day.
Yeah. You know, being able to do that then gives you the, not just the ability and knowledge, but I think that's a lot of what patients love about when they first get their cannabis card is not only do they have the freedom and, you know, legally to be able to use it, consume it, have it without getting in trouble,
Sure.
you know, in certain areas.
Yeah.
They don't have to look over their shoulder, but they also have the ability and the power to treat themselves.
Right.
And I think that's what we're all ultimately looking for is some direction and clarity of, is it okay to treat myself, you know? And a lot of us are scared because we don't know, and I think that's more the outsider's perspective on medical cannabis is we're usually scared of things that we don't know a lot about. Just because we don't like the things that are going on in the news doesn't mean we bury our head into them. We, you know, bury our head in the sand and pretend like they don't exist. Sometimes I think that's not a bad idea either.
Sometimes.
But for the most part, what you don't know can hurt you too.
Sure.
And or not benefit you either. You know, it's not just about that pain, but I think that's ultimately what it all comes down to is being able to have that collaborative relationship with the doctor and being aware as a patient, being accountable and taking part in your own health and care, because ultimately you should be the only one that or making the most investment in your own health. We have to make that as people and not allowing somebody else to dictate how our health pretty much, or, you know, the solutions to it should be a collaborative partnership.
Oh, absolutely.
Which ultimately you have the final decision of whether you take action or not, or get more knowledge or not, or get a second, third, and fourth opinion based on what is important to you and the things that you value in a treatment plan. Recently my doctor took my blood pressure, and this is after I got done working out and I had pre-workout, so my blood pressure is going to be high, and I literally ran up the stairs to make it to my appointment on time. And he's like, your blood pressure's high, and so I got to put you on blood pressure medicine. Years ago my doctor tried putting me on lisinopril, and I freaking hated it. 3 days of that, I was like a zombie, and I was like, I'd rather be dead. So I changed some things, my diet, I did some I started doing intermittent fasting, and my blood pressure naturally went down. And I stopped taking that crap because after 3 days, I was like, I'd rather be dead than be on this stuff because I feel like I'm dead.
Right.
One of the rare side effects is extreme fatigue. Well, I got that. And so when I went back in a few months later, my doctor took my blood pressure, and he's like, oh, you don't, that lisinopril's working. I said, no, it's not, I'm not taking it. He's like, what, you're not taking it? I said, no, I changed some things. You know, I started doing intermittent fasting and yada, 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 and got my blood pressure to go back down. And so this next time when after I got done working out, and he tried to give them to me, I was like, I respect that, but I'd rather try and do it on my own, and also taking into consideration I just got done working out. But I don't like being on those, and I don't need them for the most part. My blood pressure is usually pretty good outside of right after working out.
That's usually one of the I don't know if we want to call it a side effect or a good effect. Okay, I think it's a good effect, so we'll call it that. Is people come in and ask me all the time, I've been using cannabis now, it doesn't even really matter what form, and my doctor keeps telling me how much better my blood pressure is. And I said, oh yeah, it tends to regulate that a little bit without all the side effects of a blood pressure pill.
Yeah.
And then some of the people come in and tell me that they've even gone off their doctor has literally taken them off of a blood pressure pill.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting that you actually can do it yourself. And there's a few things that you can do, and medical cannabis is one of them. And you can not be taking that. And like you said, there could be a lot more people than you know feeling how crappy.
Yeah.
Since you're like, oh, I couldn't take that. I felt fatigued and yucky and yeah. And I would be one of those people. I'm sure it just I'd crash.
And I like telling, sharing that experience because I did try it, you know, and I'm not saying that pharmaceuticals, no one should be on them. I think we should educate ourselves and get the knowledge about them. When you get a medication, the doctor usually asks you, do you have any questions? Yep. Nope, I'm good. Yep. I'd never heard of lisinopril in my life. Okay, go fill it at the pharmacy. Do you have any questions from the pharmacist? Nope. A day into taking it, I'm like, what the hell did I take? Because I feel like shit.
Oh my goodness, that's
so then I
just
started
terrible.
looking at the side effects.
Yeah.
Rare, extreme fatigue. 3 days of that, I was like, nope, energy went right back to normal.
Can't function.
But I didn't take the time to educate myself. It was me putting my head in the sand saying, if there is any, I'll take my chances. Instead of, because a lot of those other side effects, common ones, I'm sure I would have got had I taken it longer than 3 days. But none of those I want. To me, I'd rather have high blood pressure than some of those on there.
Yeah.
And it's also something that was within my control that I could change. It's not easy, but sometimes you do have to take a pharmaceutical for a little while. But I would say and suggest having a plan to come off of them.
Oh,
not having it be the cure-all unless you're a type 1 diabetic. There's not a whole lot you can do.
You're gonna need
type 2, you can do something about. Okay, but type 1, you need it.
Yep.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's
different.
not really any way
That's
around
different.
it that I know about, anyways.
Right.
So, but we gotta be accountable, and so.
Absolutely.
Anyways, I think it's really exciting that the changes and the things that are coming. Some of them not so exciting, and I think that's important for the patients and those affiliated in the medical cannabis program here in Utah, to collaborate and work together and talk about issues, you know, and talk. I want to preface that instead of argue or judge or belittle. I mean, ask yourself before you do anything, are you coming from a place of creating or bringing solutions or destruction and problems? There's going to be challenges, and they've all, you know, growing up in elementary, they would always say, well, on the playground, I guess, you know, 2 heads are better than 1. Imagine how hundreds of thousands.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of power in numbers, but also a lot of information and knowledge all in one that we can collectively bring to the table to change anything that we think is appropriate here in Utah for the benefit of everybody. Patients, growers, cultivators, extractors, QMPs.
Oh, sure.
You know, the legislation, law enforcement. I mean, everybody. It's a whole working unit, and it's not just one aspect. There's a lot of aspects that go into it, and you know, again, being a solution, not just the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're always still learning and developing and evolving with this plant. And an example is, I mean, I've been in the industry for 24 years, and I just signed up for a 9-month continuing education course. And so I'll let you know how it's going. Because it's another, 4 hours a week, and then schooling and homework. So I don't know, probably 10 or 12 hours a week of education for 9 months. Okay, I'll let you know how that goes.
Okay.
But I'll be finishing the course, and it's just constantly, and you want to be the best you can be for who walks in your door and who wants to talk to you about this plant, and they're there most likely to learn something from you. And I don't know everything at all. I'm not perfect, and there's just things I still want to learn that I do not know about this plant, and the science that is being done and the testing that is being done is allowing us all to view what is still, we just haven't even touched the surface. So the continuing education and continuing law change is all important, and we'll just keep going positive with all of that. And the end result is to get the patient really the best possible choice first off for them. And so speaking of that, and collaborating, I've been reading a lot about the compassion programs that are starting to develop with the dispensaries and with some of the groups here in Utah. And maybe in closing, if we could reach out, and if there's any companies listening or executives listening that might want to go back to their boards, we in the cannabis industry here in Utah are looking to build the compassion program for the less fortunate that definitely need medical cannabis. And if there's any companies out there that would like to help develop and go forward with that program, please send us a message. Send the message to Miss Tana, and we will be in touch with you. And we would really also appreciate whatever you might be able to want to do. It's really important for the patient to obtain medical cannabis if they can, and I mean, it is expensive, and it is not covered by insurance, unfortunately. And so it's not as easy as just going into a pharmacy and showing your medical cannabis card and paying a $5 copay. So if there are any companies out there that would like to get involved, and we would be happy to consult and educate and let you know what the medical cannabis industry is about here in Utah, and what some of the staffing, really tremendous people, really wonderful people that are here to help patients and teach patients and share their knowledge, and get them some medicine, and hopefully affordably. So please reach out to us, companies and CEOs or executives, if you'd like to become more involved. Whether you're in the cannabis industry here in Utah or not, we will accept your money if you're Chick-fil-A.
Or if there's patients that are needing help too.
Absolutely.
Somebody that has thought about it, and just whether it's a money thing or an access thing, please let us know those individuals so that we can reach out and try and help them the best that we can, or find resources or other people that we know that are happy to help. Let us know any way we can help. So I think that's it for today.
I think so. So everyone, I hope you have a good day, and it was really great getting together and chatting again. I look forward to it all the time. And in closing today, we would just like to say, wear a rainbow in your cloud today. So, mwah!
Have a good day.